Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now, here's Jay.
And now, here's Jay. Anyway, it is Jay. Welcome, good afternoon, to the Educated Retirement Radio here on Black Friday and here on KMET 1490 AM, where we contemplate retirement, how to best prepare for retirement, and how to best stay happily retired. So today we are bringing back a pre-recorded segment later in the show of Phil Walker as a holiday gift. So I'll be doing this once in a while, not because I run out of things to say. As you know, if you've ever listened to this show before, I never run out of things to say. So, but because some guests are just so good that we need to hear them more than once. And sometimes if you bring them back, they're not as good as no, I won't say that, but they have different things to say on the next time they're on. So we'll do this once in a while. But today is one of two record store days of the year. So I just may be running out of the door here as soon as the show is over. So today we are going to eat lemon cream pie with Bruce Campbell in Fargo, proving that this is a country for old men. And we're also going to drink tequila on a lost weekend with Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. So, Sean, do you remember Kukla, Fran, and Ollie?
No, I can't say I do.
No, I didn't think so. I don't think you were, no, But anybody who might be, everybody who remembers Kukla, Fran, and Ollie should either have a reverse mortgage by now or be wanting to get some information. So they can get that information from me. They can call all day, all night, right now even, but I won't answer because I'm on the radio. 866-955-2233, 866-955-2233. Or take a look at drheckham.com or theeducatedretirementradio.com, or just email me, bestloantoday@gmail.com. And my day job, the Loan Source is the name of the company, NMLS 3844665, and my Department of Real Estate number is 792-630. And today is Black Friday, and because it's Black Friday, you are shopping, or you're waiting in traffic, not listening to the show. Well, maybe you are if you're waiting in traffic. But you know what? The original reason for Black Friday was because the crowds were so many and so rowdy and would cause so many accidents. Scream in the background or something, Kathleen. Okay. And there'd be accidents and violence, and that's why it was Black Friday. But now, according to the retailers and other good people, it's Black Friday because this is the time that those retailers can get back in the black. So, you know, two sides to the same thing. But most importantly, or more importantly, is today is National Lemon Cream Pie Day. And Sean, this is somebody you might remember, but this reminds us of the famous Milton Supman. Milton Supman was also known as Soupy Sales, who was hit with over 20,000 cream pies. And I was going to have a cream pie thrown in my face either now or at the end of the show because it makes for good entertainment, but also makes for a mess. Now, of course, a mess on my face would only help me, but, because it's already a mess. But if you remember Soupy Sales, you remember Pookie the dog? No, 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 Pookie the lion. And the dogs were White Fang and Black Tooth. I think I get the Pookie mixed up with a dog because of our friends Sandy, Rose, and Pookie from the Santa Fe String Swap Meet. And Pookie was a poodle? Poodle Pookie. So hello to them out there. Now, amongst the famous, since I'm not getting my face slammed with a pie, amongst the famous pie recipients on the what do we call them? The Milton Sutman show was Frank Sinatra, Tony Curtis, Mickey Rooney, Sammy Davis Jr., and Burt Lancaster, among so many others. But you know what else it is today? It's the National Customer is Wrong Day. So there's another reason for making it Black Friday. That's not a joke. Yeah. But in the meantime, be sure to jump over to the website, www.drheckham.com or www.theeducatedretirement.com. Be sure to look for the YouTube channel link about halfway down the front page. There's a whole lot there, including all the shows, the bits and pieces of the shows, the parts just showing me yapping, little snippets of good things from either me and or the guests, and there's just the guest sections too, if you want to get straight down to business. So lots of pages of professionally written information on my website also, which I didn't do, but they're really good. And a lot of things I did do, and a lot of videos that I've done outside of the radio too. So be sure to ask me for a free look of what's going on. The real simple answer of why you really want to do this, the cost ain't nothing. It's zero. And it's as long or short as you want it to be. And, you need to know what the options are. Knowledge is power. So 866-955-2233. 866-955-2233. And also, it's a few people's birthday today. It is Joel Coen's birthday. And Joel jumped in 1954. And if his name by himself doesn't ring a bell, Joel Coen is the younger of the Joel and Ethan Coen brothers filmmaking team. So I think they're great. So I think, most of you probably have a favorite Coen brothers film. Not Sean, anything you have that's a favorite? Or do you know?
I like this last one that they had on Netflix there. I forget the name of the Western.
Yeah. I do. With the Western thing at the beginning. Yeah.
The name is just.
I know. Well, I can always remember names. I mean, I can never remember names. I remember thingies. Yeah. So maybe, Kathleen, do you remember that Scrubs? That one? Buster Scrubs, wasn't it? And something else?
It's like the Tales of Buster Scruggs or something
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
Yeah, with all the short stories.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And what was your favorite, Kathleen?
The guy in the bar?
No. What?
Oh.
Coen Brothers films. Hudsucker Proxy is her favorite. I'll get to that again. And my favorite is probably what everybody else's least favorite is, and that's probably Barton Fink. I just think that's so cool. Anyway, Barton Fink. So anyway, here's what they did. It's Joel saved money mowing lawns to buy a Vivitar Super 8 movie camera. And of course, you know, J.J. Abrams made a movie about it. Well, no, now I'm pushing things a little bit. I looked those up, those Super 8 Vivitar cameras on eBay today, and they go anywhere from $40 to $80. I think the 8 millimeter was 8 millimeters across, and the film, you know, went normally. I think the Super 8, it was done sideways, like the film was able to go down the film strip a little longer to make a bigger Anyway, so be it. Look it up if you care, any more than I do. So Joel met Sam Raimi while helping to edit The Evil Dead. And of course, I showed you this cover. This wonderful cover of Evil Dead not too long ago, huh? And yeah, it's actually, well, there's a book in there. And the DVD is in there too. Anyway, that is a great one. And the Coen. Anyway, what I was going to say is Evil Dead. That's a great movie. You remember that, right, Sean? Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah, I love that. I really, really do. And it's probably as funny as it is scary. So, but the Coen brothers, the first one was Simple, Blood Simple. I remember getting that and thinking how neat that was long ago. That was their first movie, 1984. There was Raising Arizona, Fargo. Now, Fargo won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay by the Coen brothers. Best Actress was Frances McDormand. She won an Academy Award for that. And she is, as we might know, the wife of Joel Coen. So I don't know if anybody remembers Dark Man. That was a Sam Raimi movie with her and what's his name? I really love the looks of that. So the best original screenplay also for that, I think, on Fargo. Yeah. Now, I'm going to show you something real special. And I might need, I do need another light for this, but I don't have it. Like another light, like a cell phone light or something. Anyway, we'll try it without and see how that looks. I don't know if you can see all of this, but we still have these unwrapped as if there's some kind of a big deal about it. But I guess we thought, I don't know, that's not quite. But if you can see, well, it's hard to see. But there is a snow globe in there. We have 2 unopened ones, thinking these were going to be worth millions at one time. See? Huh? 2 of them. One is a snow globe with the wood chipper scene, and the other one is even bloodier. But, I mean, for somebody that likes snow globes, this is the cat's meow. So, no, I don't think that's going to work on that part of it. But, and going on, the Big Lebowski, of course, which I think I got a thing. Oh, yeah, the dude is right here. Right? We all remember that. That's become a real cult classic. And my personal favorite, Barton Fink, which is kind of, as slow moving as watching wallpaper roll off the wall or paint dry, which it actually has scenes of in it. And of course, reminds me of Samuel Muncie. So, Samuel, if you're out there listening, ever say hello. But Barton Fink, and it also had John Goodman, as a serial killer / insurance salesman. So how could you do better than that? Hudsucker Proxy, which my wife had mentioned earlier. Love that. That is our New Year's Eve movie. We have 2 New Year's Eve movies. Sometimes we can't get to both of them, but Hudsucker Proxy is one of them. And Radio Days is another one with good old Woody Allen. But I don't want to get it too much. But anyway, the screenplay for Hudsucker Proxy was written by Sam Raimi. And there was also a scene of Bruce Campbell as a newspaper man. And speaking of Sam Raimi, he is the one that did Darkman. So that's the connection to Joel and his wife, I guess. And he also did, he also did other movies like A Simple Plan, which we show you right here. Okay. And there was also, Bruce Campbell was also, he played a short role of a newspaper man in that movie. So I wonder, I have to watch it again this New Year's to see if that Oldsmobile is in there. Remember that Oldsmobile, the 1967 or whatever, yellow Oldsmobile that's been in every single Sam Raimi or movie that Bruce Campbell is in? It was the same car that went through time in Evil Dead 3 or whatever the other name was for it. Oh, brother, where art thou? With the Soggy Bottom Boys. Now, that Soggy Bottom Boys is not referring to us guys of reverse mortgage age. Okay, I think you know that. No Country for Old Men won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Javier Bardem, and Best Adapted Screenplay by guess who? Yeah, the Coen brothers. So let me say hello to Pat and Michelle, who are watching on Facebook right now. But I also wanted to throw in that this is a little different, but the Coen brothers also wrote or was a part of the writing team for Bridge of Spies, and they were nominated for it. So it's pretty cool. I mean, there's some talent there, and there's some very, I don't know. It just between the two of them, it's just beautiful. The movies they make, whether it's a comedy, a drama, even True Grit. Oh, forgot to show you at least a soundtrack from Fargo and Barton Fink. And if you haven't seen Barton Fink, it's pretty interesting. But we'll go on because it is also Viola Smith's birthday today. And today she turns 107. So she is even older than I am, and boy, do I like that, when people are older than me. And I've said before, if you ever find anybody out there that's older than me and fatter than me, then that really will make my day. So Viola, how would you pronounce her name, Kathleen?
Viola.
Viola is a lifelong drummer who was in her day, which I guess this is still her day, she was called a female Gene Krupa. So considered the first professional female drummer and the fastest. And she performed at President Truman's inauguration, and I didn't. She played with Ella Fitzgerald, swing bands from 1920 to 1975 full-time, and continues to perform today. She actually is, she's a member today of the Costa Mesa Forever Young Band. And she actually was a winner of the original amateur hour sometime in the 1930s. I tried to find out the exact show. Couldn't yet, but that is okay. I mean, I also read earlier today that the oldest person, it said oldest woman, I think, I read it on Google, oldest person in America died today. And she was 114. So on this week, on this day in history, Ray Milland won the Best Actor for Lost Weekend. And if you don't remember Lost Weekend, I think you do now. Anyway, also had a dream sequence of Salvador Dali, which also did the one for Spellbound. With the theremin for Forbidden Planet. And before we go here, because we're just about to, Kukla, Fran, and Ollie premiered on this day in 1948. And Fran Allison, Oliver J. Dragon, and won 2 Peabodys. And Bobby Darin recorded Mac the Knife in 1959. So, with a quick look at Three Penny Opera, from which Mac the Knife came from, we will say, hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and hang on for Phil Walker, okay? And talk to you next week.
Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock, mix and a mingle in the jingling feet. That's the Jingle Bell Rock.
And then what they want to leave, is a legacy for inheritance. And so was always looking long term. And then I saw something coming for our nation that, quite frankly, is still extremely worrisome. And that is that really almost 99% of our population is just not going to make it, in retirement. They're going to fall way short on their funding. A lot of it is lack of education. A lot of it is misinformation. And I saw the potential for a particular product to come along and be that extra help, that extra leg in the retirement plan. And since then, it's really evolved to where now we're looking at something that can benefit not just those that might run out of money, but even some of the more affluent investors, those that all the way up to maybe 2 million investable can benefit from this.
I know, because one of the segments earlier, I said I learned all of this from you, but I went through a little bit of the history of why we have this stigma when it comes to reverse mortgages.
Right.
So I went through a little of that. I did not get into the fact, though, that it really is not for a last resort or that kind of thing.
Right. The product we have today was not designed for the last resort client. And yet that's how most people still think of it and want to use it. As a matter of fact, when Congress instructed HUD to develop the HECM product, the home equity conversion mortgage, the word reverse mortgage wasn't even in the instructions, right? It was to help late in retirement with, quite frankly, it was a very long sentence that basically said that compounding inflation is going to get most people in the end, right? We all think and know that as we move into retirement, the things are going to get more expensive as we age, but generally the population isn't really aware of how expensive those things are going to get. When you're compounding inflation at 3% over 20, maybe even 30 years, it's almost scary when you consider what the cost of living is going to be late in retirement.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have a very limited memory when it comes to what we want to remember.
Right.
Like I was talking to a friend today, I said, I don't remember what happened yesterday. I do remember being in the crib, but I don't remember what happened yesterday. I do, however, remember when having a great income might have been $20,000 and buying a great home might have been $25,000.
Right.
Things have really changed.
Sure. We joke about the price of milk, decades ago, or the price of gasoline decades ago, and then think that escalation isn't going to continue. Well, it just naturally does. In 20, 30 years from now, we'll joke about the price of those things, what they were today.
Well, I'd like to be around to do that, but we'll see. We will see. I'm going to try.
I'm sure you will.
All right. You're okay. You know that? Yeah, you do know that. You must know that. So, yeah, it's just confounding how we have to, but let's go. I mean, the way you go at it is not, here's something we have to overcome the stigma. You go at it like, here is the real truth, and here is why you need to make this a part of what a financial planner, discusses with your clients. Because I think all of our listeners, whether they have a financial planner or not, and I do think we all should, I mean, the same thing goes for them. They need to learn also why it's so good for them financially, regardless of what their situation is today.
Sure, absolutely. Well, there's been a lot of research done the last several years on the right way to use a reverse mortgage in a financial plan. A lot of academics have gotten involved. Colleges like Texas Tech, the American College of Financial Planning, a number of very well-noted PhDs have taken a hard look at this product and proven out mathematically there are 4 or 5 really sound areas that just about everyone should look at when it comes to whether or not they should integrate home equity into their financial plan.
Right. And just because it's integrated doesn't mean they're using it. It means they have more choices.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. The reality is, and I'm going to kind of lean in our conversation today towards the more affluent user.
That's great.
But before we get dive and permanently stay there, I would like to say that we're hoping for research in the near future that lays out something we already know about what happens to millions of Americans, millions of American homeowners in retirement. And what that is they end up unintentionally spending 100% of their home equity on long-term care.
Yeah, 100% of their equity on home-term care. I mean, that's, if they sell it, what's going to happen in a few years? Fine,
right.
But in a few years they have more decisions to make and not very many choices.
Right. Well, what happens to millions of Americans, it's a very gradual process, and it's why we don't have really sound studies on this yet, but I think we will very soon. But what happens to millions of them is they reach a point in retirement where they need some help, just a little bit of help, right? So they hire an in-home care service. There's a plethora of them out there, and they typically range, depending on where you are in the country, somewhere between $20 and $35 an hour.
Right.
And if they only need a couple of hours help a week, it's not that big of a deal, right? It could be $60, $100, weekly, something like that. For a lot of seniors, that's not a big deal. But as they age, they need a little more help, and a little more help, and a little more help, and eventually 10, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week. My own aunt is 24 hours a day in home care.
Wow. Yeah.
It starts to be extremely expensive, and they can't afford it anymore. So what they do is they sell their home and move into an assisted living facility, which burns through 100% of that cash typically in just 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
So they initially had planned on passing the home on to an heir, ideally, most of them, but end up, because of the lack of plan, lack of understanding of how these things really work, end up spending 100% of it on care. And there's a variety of better options than that. One of which is, if you think about it early enough, and I equate long-term care funding to college planning. It's very similar, actually.
I know, and people, when they're young, they have college planning as part of their financial planning, whether they have a professional or not. It's part of their plan.
Right. It's much easier if you put money in a 529, for example, when the baby is born, odds are you're going to have all you're going to need to pay for college, right? If you just put a couple $1,000s in a 529 plan. But if you wait until their junior year of high school, right, it's too late. And that's what we tend to do with long-term care funding also, is we wait until it's too late. But if in your 50s or 60s, or ideally right at 62, 62, what we call our reverse mortgage birthday, when all of a sudden they're eligible, right? If you were to take just a portion of home equity and put that into a single premium long-term care policy, right, fully funded, one premium, not ongoing premiums, that money typically gets leveraged for 3.5 to 4.5 times into care benefit, and then all of a sudden those care needs are taken care of. But and I don't want to stay on long-term care for the whole conversation, but the problem is 70% of our population falsely believes that their medical insurance, their medical insurance will pay for long-term care, and it doesn't do it. And that in lies, probably one of the huge problems facing our country as the boomers move into late retirement. It's going to be a $1 trillion problem.
Yeah. Wow. I think that the single largest reason for anyone to lose their legacy or to lose their estate is healthcare and paying for it.
Sure, absolutely. So to get to the topic I know you really wanted me to spend some time on is how can this apply, and when is it really right for the little bit more affluent investor, right? We're talking about people with anywhere between $500,000 to $2 million investable. If they've met and had lots of time with their financial advisor, they've learned that most advisors have a process, right, where they identify your goals, they see what your expected lifestyle is to be in retirement, they build a plan around that and around your life expectancy, right? And then once they identify how much money they have to work with, they take a couple of steps so that they're not taking on too much risk, right? They will do something called asset allocation, right? Just it's a fundamental. If a financial advisor isn't looking at asset allocation, they might be breaching their responsibilities, right? It's that fundamental. And that's where you split things up into cash, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, right? You don't just put everything into stocks. You have some bonds, you have some mutual funds, you split that up. Then the other thing they do to reduce risk and still have the same gains is what we call diversification, right? And when we diversify that portfolio, now we're going to split up those assets. We're going to split up the stocks, and we're going to split those into maybe domestic and international. We're going to split the bonds into municipal and corporate. And so we're just going to keep splitting things out, reducing our risk, but maintaining our gains. Well, now there's a third layer that can be applied to almost anybody's financial plan, and that's called a withdrawal strategy, okay? How you take your money out when it comes time to start taking it out. And if you aren't doing this withdrawal strategy, quite literally, you may be taking on more risk than you should. So the way the withdrawal strategy works is it looks a little more long-term, and it simply says that if you can set up another income source, then when the markets dip down, rather than continue to draw your income from your portfolio during the rebound phase, right? Because every down market has a rebound, right? You can look at the markets for 200 years and they may have a big sell-off and they always come back. We are at 27,000 as of yesterday on the Dow, biggest it's ever been in history, and we have had some major calamities along the way, which means it always comes back, right? But if you're still drawing income on your portfolio as it's trying to rebound, it took that dip with the market, and then you're still taking out income as it's trying to rebound. It's like swimming upstream, right? It makes it harder for it to rebound. But if you leave the portfolio alone on those rebound years and don't draw any income, well, then it rebounds much faster, significantly faster. So then the question becomes, where do I get this other income source to live off of when I'm leaving my portfolio alone for a year. And for most people, they can't just pull an income source out of the air, but if you have a home, you can. And it's called a reverse mortgage, right?
Yeah.
A mortgage that doesn't require a monthly payment, and you can live off of that for that year, leave your portfolio to rebound faster. And we've found over tens of thousands of Monte Carlo simulations hitting this strategy with every possible type of market scenario, that it doesn't just help a little bit, it helps a lot. It can be the difference between running out of money in your 80s and leaving a substantial portfolio to your heirs. So it's not a little bit of a help, it's a layer that, unlike those other two strategies, asset allocation and diversification, that maintain gains and lower risk, this actually increases the chance of having greater gains and lowering risk at the same time. So if this isn't something your financial advisor has talked to you about yet, don't get mad at him. It's just that it's a new strategy. It was just discovered in the last couple of years, and they need to get educated on it, and we provide that education.
Which is so important. The education is great for financial advisors because so many people go to them. And it's also great for the rest of us, with or without a financial advisor. Because everything you're saying goes one way or another to all of us. Whether we have a large portfolio, a little one, or maybe we don't have one at all the principles that you're talking about, it's that, well, you know, there's such a thing as trickle-down economics. I'm not sure how well that works, but we have trickle-down knowledge here also.
Sure.
That really works for those with a $6 million home and those with a $200,000 home. It's all relative. Somebody in some other Midwestern state could have a home worth $500,000, and it could be so much bigger and better than a $3 million home out here. Everything in life is relative, except I'm not relatively good looking. But all of these principles really, really count. A lot of, the last application I took was yesterday. That was a $2 million home in La Cañada. But I've visited several others out here close, and one was a $6 million home. No heirs, so that wasn't a real problem, although I don't think that heirs should be a problem because, you can lose your home to healthcare and leave your heirs so much less, not more. But he didn't have healthcare. He wanted one of those insurance products that you talked about, and he wanted to be able to live in that house and have the view he has even after he gets sick. Oh, Dennis. How do you like that? Dennis is saying hello. You know Dennis, right? Both of you look alike now with those with those beards.
Yeah. Have you had your macaroni and cheese today, Jay?
Not yet, but boy, I'm going to.
Okay. I had a question for our dear friend Phil. How would the approach be for a CPA versus a financial planner, Phil? Or would it be about the same approach, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's a great question because, more people have tax professionals in their life than they do financial advisors. And so they end up going to that person a lot for that type of advice. And although they may not be, as in tune with, investment picking, they definitely understand tax advantages, and they definitely understand, trying to retain your income. And so when they see this strategy laid out, as we do it in our webinars, they get it right away. So I would have them, quite frankly, call in and listen to the professionals here. Jay understands it very well.
Thank you. I try.
And I would approach them actually the same way as a financial advisor.
Thank you. And thanks again, Phil, on there. I appreciate our meeting in Visalia for 2 hours. That was really incredible. So
You're welcome. You're welcome.
yeah, I'll let some other people talk or ask questions, but thanks again for your mentorship. Jay's been a mentor for me for like 15, 16 years, so I appreciate that help from everybody.
And
Glad to
we
hear from you.
appreciate you too. You know that. So go get them.
Jay, I would say for the listeners that, you know, if they are concerned at all about running out of money before their life expectancy, they have got to investigate this strategy, you know, and have their advisor look at it. If they are pretty comfortable and they think that they'll be able to maintain their lifestyle throughout retirement, but maybe they would like to give themselves a raise and actually increase their lifestyle in retirement, that is something this can also do. And if they want to leave a bigger legacy at the end to heirs, or give more away in philanthropy and give back to the world, this strategy has something for all of those people. And it's they don't make any changes to their portfolio or to their plan. They just layer on this withdrawal strategy, just like they already layered on asset allocation and layered on diversification.
Yeah, and even one more thing. Even people who think they will never have a problem. I was in that boat at one time.
Sure.
And yes, if you can imagine me in a boat, I would probably sink it or it would go off to one side. But I really had more money than I thought I could ever spend. And it wasn't that I spent it. It wasn't even because of bad investments. It's a longer story than that. But things changed for me. Life is a roller coaster. And, you know, you can take it on and enjoy it, actually, for being a roller coaster. But no matter how secure you think you may be, there's always that black swan floating around.
Sure. Yeah, we saw that in 2008. We even saw it overseas. You know, out of nowhere, you had the Japanese tsunami that affected world markets. Quite literally, you know, we saw an indication, and I think in our lifetime we'll see this one at some point, where a volcano will impact world markets. You had one in Iceland a few years ago that interrupted air travel in Europe for an entire month. Well, there are much bigger volcanoes there that could interrupt air travel for a lot longer, and so you've got to have more than enough, right? You got to have enough to get by, and then enough for those occasional, like you like to say, black swans that eventually come around. And you know, one that's going to hit a lot of people is this misperception about long-term care funding. I want to leave everybody on that topic with one thought. There is a 70% chance you will need some form of long-term care.
Right. That doesn't mean you're going in there and ending there. It means you're going to be in and out or in there, or it's going to happen.
Right. 70% chance. The only thing more likely to happen in your lifetime is death. So if
think about that. Okay.
If this is the second greatest chance of something happening, you should make plans for it, right? You have hazard insurance for your house in case it burns down, but there's only a 1 in 1,200 chance that would ever happen.
Right. I remember.
Right, but yet you have insurance for it, right? You know, we could go on and on about the comparisons of the things we plan for that are so rare.
Yeah, like car insurance.
Exactly.
You know. So if you take all the money since you started driving, all the money you've given to the auto insurance company you use, and take back what they've given you back, look what a big number you've given them.
That would be huge, sure.
So that makes all this other stuff inexpensive, if not just plain cheap.
So if you don't have a plan for your own long-term care funding, you need to get one. Okay, that's what you need to know. Medicare, by the way, that's where part of the confusion comes in. Medicare sometimes will pay for it temporarily. It has to follow a long-term hospital stay, which is at least 3 full days. If they kick you out an hour before 3 days, they're not going to provide funding. It's 100% for 20 days and then trickles down to nothing after 100 days. So even if Medicare pays for a nursing home stay temporarily, understand it's very temporary, and at some point they go away, completely. So everyone needs to make those plans, and the sooner you make them, the less costly it'll be.
That's absolutely for sure. being prepared, like the Boy Scouts once said, I think.
I was one.
Hey, for you. Be prepared. That's all this is. It's insurance against, and the cheapest insurance you'll ever get, for your future, for anybody's future. That's the way I kind of look at it. I don't want to be too pushy about it, but it's so necessary. It's not what so many people actually kind of think about it.
And that's the way to think about this withdrawal strategy is it's insurance against down markets. Right. And it's so simple to do. It is so very, very simple to do.
Right.
I would also remind everyone that there are still other very well documented strategies for this product, like delaying Social Security, right? Don't grab Social Security too early because it will cost you a lot of money. Wait until 67 if you can. And a reverse mortgage could supplement you until that day comes, and then you permanently grab Social Security at a higher benefit amount. There's also what I like to call the right size and downsize strategy.
And what size am I? Let me see. Oh, it's a good thing. It's only my face on here.
Jay, you're always the right size.
And it's always only half lit, so that helps make me look smaller.
There you go.
Let me show the other side real quick there, but I'll get rid of it. Okay. I do need a wide angle lens.
The downsize and right size strategy is if you're looking to relocate and downsize your home, maybe you're going to just get something more manageable or you're going to move somewhere to get closer to grandchildren, that may be an opportunity to make some corrections in your retirement plan. So what most seniors do, and I've talked to countless number of senior community home builders about this over the years, is the typical senior will sell their home, and let's say they net $500,000 on that home, and then they will pay cash for the new home so they won't have a mortgage payment. Well, that's great. That's very good planning. But if you might have a shortfall coming up in your retirement plan, a better option might be to just put $250,000 down on that new house, use a reverse mortgage for the other half, still have no mortgage payment, but then you freed up $250,000 to make adjustments to your retirement plan so you don't run out of money down the road.
Yeah, and even people like, not the super rich or just the in-between kind of people that maybe want to go buy a motor home, okay? Where's their money? Most of their money is in a qualified account, or it's in an account from which if they pulled in a retirement account, let's say, and if you pull money out of that retirement account, you are paying a lot of tax money, which is chunk. I don't want to say how much, 1.5 times what you probably need.
More at a 10% penalty right off the gate.
Yeah. And more important even than that, in my mind, is the fact that those dollars are not still working for creating continuing income. You've put an end to that. Whereas instead, you can buy that motor home without having to use taxable income, pay cash for it. There's no payment on it. Yes, you owe now a bit more on your home, but remember, your home is increasing. It's a still increasing asset. So 5, 10, 15 years from now, everything is much, much different. You've had a nice motorhome to roll around in, and you have more. And then if healthcare comes in, you know what? You really need more money. It's either there, or guess what? You can sell a motorhome. You don't have to sell your own home.
Right, exactly. As a matter of fact, in that scenario, if you can afford a motorhome payment, you may still want to do it with a reverse mortgage instead and just pay it back. Make those monthly payments to your reverse mortgage. Yeah. You can do that without a penalty, and it actually increases your available credit line for later on. Yeah, it's that unused portion. The larger the unused portion of your line, the more it grows. If you have the HECM.
Yeah, I have a HECM, which I recommend everybody do, but that's up to them. But I make payments most of the time. Why? Because I want the line of credit to grow. And, I can put it into an investment here, there, or whatever, and I'm not saying not to, but I have a specific use down the road for a specific amount of money. And the only way I know I can grow my spending power is that. Put it into the house, because every single penny, every single penny goes to, 1 minute. Every single penny increases that line of credit, and of course the principal part also increases your equity.
Yeah, Jay, I'll leave your audience with this. We've done a lot of research for many years now on this, and as a former financial advisor, I can tell you that if you're considering liquidating your portfolio to buy something, almost 100% of the time, it's better to do it with a reverse mortgage, because like you said, you're limiting your ability to generate income. A business owner would not sell off part of their business to buy something, because then they've sold off part of their permanent income, right?
Right.
And when you are retired, you are in the business of retirement.